Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Appreciate it. Thanks for taking out your time this afternoon for coming on in, spending a little time with myself and my great guest. I got Jessica, the Cryptid Huntress, joining me shortly. Going to be a fantastic show whenever Jessica comes on. So thanks in advance, Jessica. Of course, I'm your host, BMR. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. Give me a thumbs up. Turn on the alert bell. Make sure you subscribe. Leave a comment after the show. I do appreciate that. You can find me on iHeartRadio, Spreaker for podcasting, KPNL Radio, wherever podcasts are found. We're on every podcasting platform out there. If you like our content and want to help us along the way, the super chat is open. That's a great way to help show love and support for the show. And also, you can become a BMR pirate. Join today. You get a little picture of me and my bandana. That's right. That's what you get. 57 and growing. Thanks for that. Thanks in advance to everybody for coming on in. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all social media platforms. Check out my YouTube page for upcoming events and schedules. I do also want to thank everybody that's bought my book, of course. Bigfoot Michigan Represents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1. You can find that on Amazon. Thanks for those of you that have bought it. The link for this is always pinned in the chat. You can also find it on my YouTube page. Now, for those of you that bought it, Amazon's going to come calling. They're going to send you an email. They're going to have you give it a report or review. Fill it out, send it back, because it's all analytics these days, and it does help promote book sales. Book 2 is coming out end of spring, early June. And also my third book about my weird life is going to be coming out as well, starting back from the age of 5 to my current age of all the weird things I've come across. So I've been pretty busy with all that. And there's another person that's been pretty busy. That's right, Miss Jessica Jones. I'm not going to mince words. Don't forget to subscribe to Texas Front Porch on YouTube, Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, and of course, Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress. I have all Jessica's links provided in this description of this show. So if not subscribed, go check her out. I do appreciate that. And I'm just going to get right into it today and bring up my friend Jessica.
Well,
Hey.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, thanks for having me today. I'm hungry. Are we having brunch?
You were having a little brunch. Yeah, we're having a little brunch. I think you're last on, I want to say, time flies. Last time you were on, you did the remote view for me of Dogman Island. And, you confirmed there's some weird things going on. So that's when you were on. That was a great show. That's in the archives for everybody who hasn't seen that. And I think I even did it on your show 6 months ago. So that was cool. That was last time I tried to get you on at Christmas, because I typically have had you on at Christmas as well, but everything was haywire and we're all busy during the holidays. So I'm glad to have you back. Always a fan favorite, and one of my buddies, Miss Jessica.
Well, thank you. We got a long history together, Rob.
Yeah.
Doing a bunch of shows together and stuff. So it's always
fun. You co-hosted this show for a few months, and you were on, of course, way back before the Cryptid Huntress brand even was born, I do believe. So that's awesome. So I congratulate you on the success that you've had. And of course, you're still over there on Spaced Out Radio as well, I do believe. So
I am. I'm just doing Sunday nights at Spaced Out Radio now.
Okay.
So just Sunday nights, but I'm there. Absolutely. Yeah. I spend a lot of time out in the woods now, so I needed my Saturday night back. You know what I mean?
Yes, I've noticed that, because I do follow you on Instagram and the other media, but you had a lot of, I've just been looking, you've been in the woods quite a bit lately, which is awesome. And well, let me ask you this. So some recent things. Have you I know you're with your son in a lot of them, and I don't know if you're doing the full-blown investigations. I know we got a little hunter himself, you're pulling him slowly through the ranks. So what's been going on lately out in the woods? Anything exciting you want to talk about to get
Oh, yeah.
rolling? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the things that I will post online are pretty not like the full. We don't do the research. I don't ever put any of that online at
Right.
all. So
Right.
whatever I post, whatever you guys see is going to be me and my son hiking, me teaching him like how to track and look for Bigfoot sign, and uh, teaching him the basics of cryptid field research, basically. And just going out and enjoying the day. I mean, I would never take my dog out in the field to go do some real research, because I don't think Bigfoot's like dogs very much or dogmen. And those areas that we go to are just too dangerous for that kind of stuff. So, but we're out there, we're just, just having a good time. But we've been doing that a lot. There's some places that aren't too far from where we live, and we have a lot of public lands and stuff to go on. And so that's kind of the stuff that I've been highlighting a little bit on my channel, are places that pretty much anybody could go to. It's still undisclosed. I don't want to give all my locations away exactly. I'll give the region away.
No, yeah,
But there's so much going on out there.
yeah,
Bigfoot.
no, Bigfoot, and of course, and you go all over too. I mean, I know you're in Georgia. Now we'll just leave it at that. And Georgia's got a lot of, I mean, reports that I feel and stories that I've gotten from people. Georgia is a pretty active area, isn't it?
Oh, very. It's actually the most active of all the states that I've researched, doing Bigfoot research. Yeah, we have more Bigfoots here than anywhere that I've been so far. But I know Florida's got a lot of Bigfoot down there, and I've done some research down there. But Georgia, man, if you go to the North Georgia mountains, it's wild how much Bigfoot activity is there. Now I've been going to Middle Georgia lately because we've got a lot of Bigfoot reports down there too, particularly around the Columbus, like the Fort Benning Army base down there. I think it's some kind of like jump school or something, airborne school. I'm not sure exactly, but there's a lot of Bigfoot reports from around that area. So there's a stretch of land, like a region, that my team will go down there and investigate sometimes. It's called the Troop Herd Corridor. Okay, and so there's a lot of alien abduction reports that happen right there. Okay, now I don't know if that has anything to do with being at Fort Benning right there in that area, but could be.
Well, maybe. I mean, when you brought that up, and I immediately went to the military and military bases. And again, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence. A lot of UFO sightings and cryptid sightings are actually around a lot of these military bases or within several miles of the bases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fort Stewart is another base in South Georgia. I went to college down near Fort Stewart, and so I didn't know at the time there were a whole bunch of cryptid reports and sightings around that base, but where they do all their shooting practice and stuff. I mean, it's just a bunch of dense woods with a lot of mosquitoes. That's all it is. Super dense woods, but yeah, lots of cryptid reports down there. A lot of Bigfoot sightings, and plus everybody that lives down there, you have to put like deer whistlers on the front of your car because there's so much wildlife out there. And for anybody who doesn't know, deer whistlers, I vaguely remember this. I didn't have them on my truck, but something you put on the front of your vehicle that makes a loud noise so the deer stay away from you, so they don't jump out in front of your truck when you're driving down the road at night.
It's crazy. Not to, we have a freeway. I-94 by me goes right through the airport, and you wouldn't think you'd have deer at the airport. Now, on either side of I-94 that leads into the airport close by me, which is maybe 20 minutes away, you can look in the field and you'll see in meadows, and you have a whole bunch of deer out there. And in the state of Michigan, and again, everybody listening, the airport isn't in the woods. Okay, it's surrounded by the woods, but the wood tree lines on either side maybe goes 30 yards deep. And, we get every summer and fall, Jessica, we get an enormous and a really unprecedented amount of deer and headlight smashes, where people ramming into the deer. And to me, being around a busy freeway, a busy airport, and for them to run into I was thinking one day, why do they run into the freeway? Because it's so noisy. Sometimes I often wonder, though, if maybe they're being scared out by a predatory animal or a cryptid.
Yeah, I would say it's probably because they're disoriented for some reason or another. Yeah, and speaking of deer, that is a food source for the Bigfoots. And so whenever I'm out there taking my son, I've got a couple of videos like TikToks. I finally got on TikTok, Rob. Okay, so making like
You
TikToks.
know
I
what?
know.
You got on TikTok about the same time
Finally.
I got off TikTok because I get inundated. I had 540 people sent me messages, and they're all like from weirdos.
I can't keep up with everything. I don't know. I don't even know how to use how to like interact with people on TikTok, but I know how to make videos now, kind of. Those templates are something else, man. But anyways, so on those little TikTok short videos and stuff, I'll put them on my YouTube channel. There's a couple of me and my son hiking and stuff recently over the past week. And what we're doing in some of these pictures that I have, like we have some open fields out there, and where we're going is like a WMA kind of I don't say facility. It's not a facility, but it's just some good lands. Pretty much anybody can go on, and they got a bunch of open fields out there. And there's one field that is so perfect for Bigfoot sign and Bigfoot tracking. That means Bigfoot sign is like any kind of trace of a Bigfoot. Okay, mostly like tracks. And so we're out there looking for Bigfoot tracks because I figured out of any place that there's going to be a place for my son to find his first Bigfoot tracks, it would be in this field because it's been plowed up. And it's basically like a deer sanctuary. Okay, so why wouldn't the Bigfoots want to go there? And when you go in, it's nothing but there's just deer poop everywhere. Okay, and deer tracks. And you can see the little critter tracks too from like the raccoons and the possums and stuff that are coming in and out of that place. So it's just a perfect place to go teach my youngin how to do some tracking. We have not come across a track yet in that field, but I am positive we're going to one day because we've seen Bigfoots out there before.
Yeah, it's the perfect area for it, And I like too that you see a lot of wildlife, a lot of smaller impressions and tracks surrounding all these areas. And as you mentioned earlier, the deer is a source for Bigfoot, at least to the best of our knowledge, right? And they do, I think, get spooked. Because I was just trying to pinpoint because these deer, it's strange that it's almost like they don't care, so they're being spooked, and that's the only way they can explain it. Because I know my brother is a deer hunter out in their element in the forest. If you make just the smallest of sounds, it'll spook the deer. He might have it lined up, and they take off in any direction. So,
Yeah.
so
Well,
and
luckily the Bigfoots are stealthy. They're never gonna, the deer aren't gonna hear them coming up, I would assume. Because I don't hear the Bigfoots half the time. They're creepy. They're sneaky suckers.
and they are, and I will tell you this, I'll bet you how you get a lot of people that call in or you talk with that they're hunters. Well, Rob, I've been a hunter in the woods for 20 years, never seen a Bigfoot. And then I put on the brakes, pal. It's like, okay, number one, you're not looking for it. Number two, they're not going to show themselves to you. But with that being said, what's your thoughts on this? I'll bet you many a hunter has walked past a Bigfoot and not even realized it.
Oh yeah, probably. Or misidentified it. There's a lot of misidentification going on out in the field. So but I'm telling, I mean, Bigfoots look like bears, bears look like Bigfoots. So it could be something like that. I mean, see, my issue is that sometimes if it's like a young hunter or something, I'm not saying like all young hunters do that, but if some people will just go out and shoot stuff,
Right.
So like, don't ever dress up like a Bigfoot in the woods, y'all. Please don't. You might get shot by accident by a careless person, or just somebody that's scared. So
and we've heard many stories about these hunters that actually looked and they say they allegedly would shoot a Bigfoot. Again, those stories they're far and in between, but there are people out there, and if you are dressed up as a Bigfoot, bad idea. Bad idea.
Yeah, not smart.
Bad idea to dress up like something that the people want to make a quick fortune on. Can you imagine if a hunter really nabbed one of these creatures and was able to bring it into the public domain?
Yeah, I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
I don't think so.
I mean, I've heard stories. There's a story that's been going around that I've heard. I've heard it on at least 2 different podcasts, I guess, and it was talking about the guy who paid to go see a Bigfoot. And it's kind of sad. I mean, I don't even like listening to it because it sounds terrible.
It already sounds sad.
Yeah, it makes you wonder because Bigfoots are so strong and they're in family units usually, and they look out for their own, like to each his own. And the story was like, it went like this guy was joking around with his friend. He said, "Hey, we can go see a Bigfoot. All I got to do is call this guy and pay him some money." And they got to so they decided to do it basically on like a dare or a bed or something. And they got to this barn, like this guy's house in the middle of nowhere. And he took them out to a barn that was heavily padlocked and locked. And went in there, and there was like the guy thought it was a buffalo or something, is from what I can recall. But the thing stood up. It was a female Bigfoot. And he said it was horrific, like sad. She was being held captive there, basically.
Yeah, and
So,
here's the thing, that is sad, that is horrific, and the thing I guess where we have to pause and think is like you even mentioned, Bigfoot are socialized animals, and that's why I always say if you are a hunter and you allegedly see a Bigfoot and you take a shot, you might there's another one watching you. Now, there are probably exceptions with maybe a rogue Bigfoot that got disbanded from its clan or its group, and I can see that, but I just can't see where a Bigfoot would be captured in a barn and none of his clan members come to rescue him, right?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could happen. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe her clan got wiped out or something. I mean, there's no telling. There's so many different aspects to this because, I'm a firm believer that they could potentially have the capabilities of being supernatural beings as well. So you
Absolutely.
got to wonder, like, well, why couldn't it just? I don't think they could just disappear like that. But I don't know. You can't access a portal if you're locked up, chained up in a basement somewhere.
That's true, and also though too, I mean, if you take and believe this theory, we've all talked around Moorhead, you've had him on, I've had him on, and that the quantum mechanics or quantum physics were a
Mhm.
conversion of mass to energy. And Rod told me he thinks one of the ways they can travel. I guess in that instance, this is one that cannot then, right? Because you would think that boom, and I don't think it's locked down with any
Yeah.
sort of I don't know, any sort of lead. I mean, you just start thinking out of the box. Can something be restricted if they're chained in lead or shackled
Yeah.
and it loses their quote unquote superpowers, if you will? I
Yeah.
mean, I know it's out of the box, but we
It's
just don't know.
totally out of the box. I mean, but we're talking about Bigfoot, y'all. Okay,
Yeah,
so
you know,
and yeah, I mean, but that's if the story's true. We don't know. I mean, I don't. I've only heard it. I mean, there's a lot of storytellers on the internet,
I
So
know there are.
it
Trust
does
me,
make for a good story.
it does
So
make for a good, it does make for a good story. But like our good buddy Barry says, it's food for thought, right?
food for thought. I know it's sad. I don't recommend watching that, y'all. It's sad. Okay, it's really sad. I had a hard time recuperating after watching that. So yeah.
One of the other sad stories out there is the alleged what happens when the Patty film ends, right? With the alleged
Oh man.
of Patty
Yeah.
and her family.
I actually just met MK Davis about a month ago. We were at the East Alabama Bigfoot Town Hall, and I made a little surprise appearance. I wasn't planning. I mean, I didn't tell anybody I was going. I just kind of showed up, and I wanted to go meet some of my friends like Connor Flynn and Tyler Howell,
Yeah,
and Stacy Brown was there, and and Flat Rock. Man, we had the best time. It
I
was really
met.
good.
Yeah, I love Flat. I met Flat Rock. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, we had a really good time. But went down there and MK was there. Even ran into my cousin. My cousin Jesse was there, my Bigfoot artist cousin. And
Is
so
that
it was
is that Jesse Peak?
no, that's Jesse Peaks with the UFO MUFON. Okay.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was Jesse, my cousin Jesse. And so Jesse Duke, just like on the Dukes of Hazzard.
Jesse. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he's the one that made the Bigfoot out of the muscadine vines that's in front of Cherry Log, the Bigfoot Expedition Bigfoot in Georgia. It's a Bigfoot museum. He made the gigantic, there's a big full scale size Bigfoot that my cousin made in front of that museum. So, but anyways, but he was there, but he actually has talked with MK quite a bit because they're both really into the dynamics of like her body and the musculature and all that kind of stuff from the Patty film. And MK is probably I'm gonna say he's one of the top people I would go to for to get the information about the Bigfoot scientifically, what's going on with the Bigfoot and stuff. So, but yeah, he showed us a video. His presentation was just phenomenal. And he showed all of us the actual full video.
Yeah.
And the video leading up to the Patty video too.
Well, that
So,
is, MK. I had him on last year, and for whatever reason, this video that I put out, well, it was a show. In fact, it was back when Tex was my co-host, and we had MK on. It was like 2.5 hour show, and we talked about the alleged murders at Bluff Creek with Patty, and that is on my channel, and it was the most fascinating interviews I ever did. And also, the thing about MK is he's a fantastic photographer.
mhm.
I mean, he really gets. And I'm not talking about cryptids, I'm talking about the moon and the sun, the stars, and everything. That's another thing that he does. And but he's yet to capture that infamous picture. Although MK's got a lot of great videos, you guys. I think he's Green Day on YouTube. I think the name of his channel is Green Day, I think. But
Yeah,
just look up
something like
MK.
that.
You'll find a lot of stuff on that. So,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
Georgia too, we're talking about cryptids. Again, this is kind of a random show we put together here. And the other thing about Georgia, and I got, cryptids it's high on the list. What about UFOs or aliens? Do you get a lot of activity in the mountains as well?
I mean, if you've been knowing me for a while, we got UFOs and aliens here and
Well, I've
stuff.
known
So
you for a
yeah,
while, but maybe the
yeah.
audience, you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, we've got everything here. Absolutely. We're yeah, I have been accosted by UFOs out in the field, and I've had aliens that showed up in my house after that happened, actually. So yeah, we have all of that. I mean, we have it all. Okay, so I don't know.
Did you say an alien or a UFO followed you to your house?
No, well, I've had alien. I mean, I've had ET contact actually in my home before. Yeah, unfortunately, it was weird.
Yeah, you wanted to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, I guess. Yeah, I mean,
ET contact,
yeah.
that's always, perking up everybody's interest.
Yes, yeah. I've had at least 2 instances that I can remember where I actually woke up at night and there were ETs in my room with me, and that was right after I first started doing Bigfoot field research. So, cautionary tale, y'all. Okay, if you're looking to get into the Bigfoot research, the real research, you're out there, and you got to prepare. It's not just Bigfoot out there, not where we go. So I don't know about other people's research all over the world, but where we're going, we have more than just Bigfoot. And so one of the first times I was out there, we had UFOs flying over. It had like a low flying UFO, had some missing time, things like that happened, and the equipment was changing. Digital clocks were moving forward on one of our pieces of equipment and backwards an hour on the other one. And it was odd. We knew that something had happened to us out there. We had a string of events that happened where it led up to the head of our research team saying, "Hey, you guys need to start studying alien abductions." And I was not super excited about that because with alien abduction, I was like, I'm out here to do some Bigfoot research, not to get abducted by aliens. Okay. But apparently it goes hand in hand. So as we know, even with text too.
Well, I was about to say it goes hand in hand with what? Time loss, right? I mean, from the people we've spoken with.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the time loss. Yeah, I think it's got something to do with potentially with ETs for sure. And so now that I've met more people and I've done more research and things that I've remote viewed, a lot of it. I mean, there's something we have called the secret space program. Okay, and I know people that have been involved in that. So there's just so many facets to this research that we're out there doing. So anyways, I went home, I started reading books on alien abductions.
Yeah. Like,
The Threat and Communion and Secret Life was one of them. Just several different alien abduction books, and it's abduction books. It's stuff that I had never really researched, but I was interested in it, but I just never thought it would happen to me. So, of course, I got on the Amazon book list, and I bought one book, and then it suggested another one. So, I just kept buying alien abduction books. So I was reading all these books on ETs, and Among Us, I think was one of them. Aliens Among Us or something. I can't remember. Those are life-changing books, but I think it kind of opened me up to that frequency of this becoming my reality and a possibility. And that's when the contact started happening that I could remember. So I mean, who's to say that I had not been getting visited by ETs my entire life? Because, you know, like you've had experiences with ghosts and spirits, just like I have. And so
Yes.
what if, let me just kind of pose this question, like, what if those ghosts that we've been seeing are not actually ghosts sometimes? What if they're ETs? But it's like a screen memory. So it throws another wrench in the engine, doesn't it?
It does, and I've often thought about that, about some of the experiences that I've had, and, you know, as I told you, I'm starting to write a book about, like, my life experiences, and it got me thinking. It's so funny you bring that up because I always say ghost, ghost this, ghost that, or paranormal, and I've had experiences with shadow people, but then I did sit back and say, "You know what, Rob? Maybe it wasn't a ghost, maybe it was an alien." Especially when you're a little kid, because Barry was telling me some time ago that one of the frequency of children between 5 and 7 is when they can be possibly have the highest amount of contact with a possible ET, because the mind is just open to everything. They don't know what's right, what's wrong for the most part. They're still developing their skills at a very young age. And I was just thinking, did that happen to me? Because to my recollection, though, I don't know that I experienced any time loss. And that's not to say that time loss is a part of abduction either. You talk to a lot of people that have experienced time loss, but some, I think, if they are abducted, you'll talk about people that remember everything without experiencing time loss, because I think there's an agenda with certain aliens or creatures. They want you to report it back to Earthlings, or maybe they don't, right?
Maybe. I don't know. There's no explaining the alien stuff, in my opinion. There's just like there's no explaining it. I mean, I've been contacted by people who, or a friend of mine, okay, because it's not just random people. This is like a good friend of mine,
Yeah.
who had some very good friends of his that were being, I'm going to say, accosted, kind of, by ETs at their home, and I'm sure he knew about what I had experienced, and I guess he thought maybe I could help in some way, because the story behind that is, I'll kind of put it out there without saying names and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
there was a family here in Georgia, and the mother, let's say the mother of this family. She had a couple of kids and a husband, and they lived out in the country. And the mother learned somehow how to call in alien ships. I don't think it was a CE5 kind of protocol. I don't know what she was doing. I never asked. Okay, it might have been CE5. See, we got to be careful when we're doing stuff like this. Okay, like that CE5 stuff where you're calling in UFOs.
You're calling in. For those that don't know, that's calling in of UFOs or aliens, correct?
Yes, be prepared. You got it. Okay, so like, I don't even know the gravity of the situation, so to speak, when we're out there doing it. But when I'm out there doing it with my team, I'm assured that like somebody knows what they're doing. You know, that's not my specialty, but okay. So we take steps to try to protect ourselves. Okay. Well, she was doing it for kind of for fun, and she was having success. And so UFOs were showing up over her house when she would do whatever she was doing. And so she thought it was fun. Her friends would come over and she'd be like, "Look what I can do." And it was all fun and games until her children started having problems at school. And they were waking up late, and their hair would be disheveled, and they were tired, and their grades started dropping, and things started going downhill for both of her children, who had been good students, and that just wasn't like them. And she didn't really put two and two together until they started noticing they felt like they were being watched.
Mhm.
And so she put cameras up in her house. And sure enough, looking in her windows, and I had some of those pictures, there were absolutely 100% ETs looking in her windows at night.
Wow.
So she was like, well, they started freaking out. They're like, what do we do? And I'm like, well, I don't really know what to do. Okay. So I referred it to someone else. Okay. But I honestly, when it comes to ETs, when you start calling them in, or they notice you. Here's the thing. I think it's when they notice you. Okay, when you're like, hey, I'm right here. Come visit. I don't know if you're ready. Unless you're ready for that, I wouldn't do that. I really wouldn't. Just like in my case, I wasn't looking for it, but I kind of was, because I had opened myself up to it by reading those books and getting on that frequency, I guess, to know they were there. Now, those ETs may have always been there in her life, in her world, but now they were aware of it. And it was almost like, I'm not going to say it's like they gave the ETs permission to like take her kids or anything. I'm not saying that whatsoever, but it's like I said, a cautionary tale to what could happen when you start messing with stuff like that.
I have to agree that people that do like what we're doing, whether you don't even really have to be a researcher, or you can just be a talk show host. You can be a person that is open-minded to these phenomena, because I always was open to it as a kid. And again, growing up through life, I saw all sorts of weird things that led up to, of course, my incredible encounter. And you and I have spoken in the past about certain things. When I really get immersed in things, whether I'm studying cryptids or UFOs, aliens, and I stay up late nights, and sometimes I think that we have the ability to just kind of manipulate it or even manufacture some of these things. Because I remember I was talking to you some time back, and I was watching programming on, and it's not that I'm into it, but I'm interested in everything about exorcisms and demonic activity. And I was really watching this stuff, and I started having terrible nightmares. And then I was mentioning to you about these people that perform these incantations, and I'm watching on television, and I'm listening to this, and I tell you, I've had the worst nightmares. And then you told me one day, Rob, you can't be doing that. You got to put that stuff on mute. And I was like, what? It's just a TV, just electronics. And then you went and said that, hey, anything that's unknown transmitted through any source can open you up to things that perhaps you're not prepared for. So, pretty good advice, eh? I mean, I believe in that.
Yeah, well, our televisions can be portals. I actually did a really interesting deep dive into mirrors as portals. And there's portals everywhere, apparently. Okay, portals everywhere. But yeah, Dennis Carroll and I did a show on magic mirrors and portal technology and stuff. I mean, I've had conversations with people who claim that people involved in, like, let's just say the secret space program, like black projects with our government, they have devices. It's like they carry a bag around, and they have like these things that look like bricks. They can set them up, and it's like they stick to the wall, kind of like magnets, and it turns into what looks like a mirror. Once all the magnets get put around, like in a circle, and they can just walk straight through it. And so, I don't know. I also, people's mirrors at homes could be portals, and especially old vintage mirrors and antique mirrors. That's why people cover their mirrors when somebody dies here in the South, or they used to. So probably all over the country, but not just the South. But.
I'm sure it's all over the country, and I believe 100% in the mirrors there can be a portal. Much like I feel that in the woods, and it doesn't matter that you're an experienced hiker and you've been in the woods for 20 years. I believe that, the woods obviously, and this is going to sound dumb, the woods are alive, right? I've been subscribing to this theory that the woods is like the internet. You have everything growing in the forest, vines and root systems that are all interconnected. And I believe all these elementals, if you will, of the forest are communicating with people. And I think the trees serve as a portal. You hear many accounts of a Bigfoot or a cryptid evolving from a stump or walking into a stump, right? I mean, we've heard them. I believe that it's a big network of communication and portals. I know you do believe in portals because of some of the things that you've experienced. And I just think that that's where they come from. And I also believe, whether it's cryptid, alien, whatever strange phenomena that you're into, I think everything's connected in some instance. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything's all connected. I mean, me and Mary actually kind of threw the idea around about those walking trees. We're like, what if those are Sasquatch? I don't know. It's so weird. Like, if you just think, if you think outside the box about this stuff too, things. I was going to say things to make more sense, but they really don't. Nothing makes more sense. We just live in such a wild world. I mean, I even had let's see who to have on Cryptid to the Corn. I had Mr. E on my show one day, and we were talking about he's got a really cool podcast where he talks about the mycelium networks. He came on Space Out Radio, I believe. We talked about it. It's like the mushroom networks. It is like an internet system. It's like the living Earth. I don't know.
No, right.
It's interesting stuff. It is. But how is this all connected with like Bigfoot and Sasquatch and Dogman and whatever else is out there, the fairies and all that stuff, all that jazz? It's like nature they know how to harness the power of those things and how to use it. We've got all this alternative, I want to say like artificial communications devices like our telephones. Like a telephone is a replacement for telepathy, right? I mean, kind of. That's
Yeah.
what I would say.
Well,
Uh,
it's strange. I go continue on. I got a story behind that, but keep going. Yeah.
yeah. Oh no, I was just saying, like we just have a whole lot of artificial things like technology in our world that have disconnected us from nature. So they're
And
they're, they're harnessing nature's power,
yes,
and we're over here paying phone bills and power bills, you know,
I,
cable bills, internet bills.
I do
So
respect I do respect the power of Mother Nature even more so today than I did a decade ago. And I do believe that, especially with the elementals, you and I have similar friends with Dennis Carroll, Ron Murphy, and we did a show on the elementals and how that is the life force in the forest. And not suggesting that's where Bigfoot comes from, but they were here well before or at the time, and we don't even know when Bigfoot was on the earth, probably centuries ago, right? They've been here longer than we've been here for sure.
mhm,
And they're that allows them to travel about the system. But now when you talk about this AI, right? Or like our phones being a portal and how creepy it is. I was in a Kroger's. I've told this story many times. Now, yes, I know that if you type into your phone, I'm looking for a new car, then what are you gonna get on your computer? You're gonna get advertisements for cars. When that first happened, it was kind of freaky, but now it's part of our life. We
mhm.
expect to get advertisements on what we're interested in. But I got to tell you something that really spooked me, and this was around Christmas time. I was at a Kroger and I was looking for something in a Kroger grocery store, and I didn't speak out loud, but in my mind, I thought because I was looking for Mexican spices to be exact. And I thought in my mind, what in the hell aisle did I last find these Mexican spices? And again, everybody, I'm thinking this. And not less than 5 minutes later, my phone dings. I look at it. It's from Kroger, aisle 15.
No
I
way.
go down aisle 15, Jessica. No, I'm not making this up.
No.
I went
What?
down aisle 15. There was Mexican spices. I thought it, though. Had I spoken it out, I can see.
Yeah. I mean, God, I'm convinced that my phone can see my face.
Well,
Okay.
see, same, right.
Literally, I had like a blemish on my face one day. I don't get those very often, right?
Yeah.
But I had a little blemish, and I had not said anything about it. I didn't even know I had it. I didn't even know it was there yet.
Yeah.
And I picked up my phone. I was looking at my phone.
You,
This is
you
in the
got
morning,
you got a
and
very some
I
Estee
got like
Lauder.
I got a pimple medicine commercial, and I was like, "What?" And then and it didn't even dawn on me why. I was like, "Because that's an odd commercial for me to get in the morning." I never get those commercials on my or advertisements. And then I looked in the mirror and I was like, "Whoa, okay." That's when I knew there was something really wrong. At that point, I was like, "Okay, now I know I'm not saying it; it's looking at me."
Yes.
So yeah,
So
be careful. Be
well,
careful what you do in front of your phone and your television.
gosh, you can't. You really can't do anything. I mean, I tell you what, for people to think you're in private when you're at home walking around naked at your house, nah, don't do that. You're caught. I mean, the TV, it's just it's really scary. It's kind of terrifying. And moving forward in society, these kids that are, young kids such as maybe perhaps your son, they are going to be in store for a lot of weirdness.
Yeah, well, we can't get around that though because
No.
AI is here. and I don't see it going anywhere. Just learn how to do some target practice on this. No, wait, let me not say that. Just find out where the sensitive parts are on those robot dogs. That's all I'm saying. So
Yeah, there
yeah,
you go. Yeah, find
okay,
that out for sure.
okay. Let me. Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
It's
was
but
just
you can't really get around it. I mean, it's here. It's I'm not putting a brain chip in my head. But Barry gave me a really interesting remote viewing target for last week, and I didn't find out what that was until the day of the show last Thursday, and it was actually and let me tell you, my data was like all this information about artificial intelligence in a big cube, okay, a cube in a box, and there was a bunch of AI, and it was very ominous. It was like the destroyer of worlds. I was picking up on Thanos, like from the Marvel movies and stuff. Uh, Destroyer of realities, destroyer of worlds, and stuff. It was all this data, and I was like, "What in the heck is this target?" And it turns out it was the black cube that is hovering over the sun that NASA has pictures of, okay, from their SOHO satellite, and it's 10 times the size of Earth. So, not to scare anybody, okay, not to scare anybody, but it's it's up there apparently, because my data was exactly kind of what some people had assumed. So, there's something up there. It's just like a big box of AI. I don't know, of a whole bunch of futuristic, I don't know, evil, I guess you could say,
well,
to us humans.
and here's the thing too. If you revert back to the aliens, I don't believe that the aliens are here for our resources or to get our technology. Because I think if you are a believer in aliens, alien life, and other worlds, and I do, I don't think that they investigate our planet for our resources. They're s- light years ahead of us, right? But do you think that we access some of this from the aliens? Do you think there are with these secret space programs? Do you think that we are tapping into some of this?
Yeah,
For them, I think it's mundane research. I think that the things we're getting now has been already developed 50 years ago, right? And we're
oh,
just bringing,
100 years ago. I mean, it's so far
yeah,
beyond us right now. Yeah, everything is hidden from us. Everything. That's why I'm part of this whole disclosure movement. Okay, I 100% am. That's why the remote viewing stuff where that comes into play. That's why I partner with a lot of different communities, with even the secret space program community. Okay, and because I'm getting all these targets. Like Barry is so great about giving me these great targets. A lot of them are stuff I've obviously never heard of, like the TRAPPIST-1 star system and this cube and dwarf planets, alien bases on dwarf planets, all this wild stuff I've been looking into, and all the data is just mind blowing. Because there is life on other planets. I don't think that it's a whole bunch of little green men running around. I think on a lot of these targets that I've done, I'm thinking that I'm remote viewing Earth in the future. There's corporations there. There's high-rise buildings, mid-rise apartments, highways, vehicles, humanoids. So that doesn't mean that like everybody looks just like us. They look kind of like us on a lot of these different planets. So
you talk about perhaps you could be remote viewing the Earth in the future. I'm
mhm,
often talked about perhaps we are aliens from the future.
yeah, I think there's some aliens walking around among us for sure. Why not? I mean, I don't think we're all from here. So yeah. I mean,
You
I'm
know,
not saying I'm one, but
well,
I might be. I don't know. I'm a little different, but I don't know anymore. I don't know. I think there's clones walking around too, okay, and stuff and robots and um it's and I don't think clones are bad. Okay, I'm not saying that. I think I actually have friends that believe they're clones. Okay. And we see that on the internet, cloning facilities, where you can transfer consciousness into another body and stuff. So that's
see,
that's
that's
a
really
rabbit hole.
that's so interesting. And yes, I'm with you. I don't think, especially over the last decade or so, we're certainly not the only species, human or non-human, on the planet. I think aliens walk amongst us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
There
For
are
sure. But I
things
think
that
they look like us. They look
I
like us.
I think some look like I think, you hear the stories. When I think aliens, I think that there's a race of aliens that look identical to us. Then, of course, you got your grays, then you've got the reptilians. I mean, there's so many races of species out there, in my belief, that you just there's just so many, and they all look different. Some probably look like monsters, some look harmless. I mean, there are aliens, they're only a microscope, or just a very um, a millimeter big, or they're alien or a life
Mhm.
form unknown to us.
Yeah. They say that Nikola Tesla was a Venusian. Venusian. I think that's how you say it. He was from Venus, from what I've heard. I don't know if this is true, but I heard that some documents, like some CIA documents, were leaked or something. I don't know if they were declassified or what, but it said that he was actually Venusian from Venus.
Well, the guy certainly was a genius,
Oh,
with his developments.
well, he talked about free energy and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's something that is risque. I think we used to have free energy. That's another topic that we could go down a rabbit hole. The Tartarian Empire, all their all their beautiful architecture that harnessed free energy and stuff. And I've talked about that on my shows a good bit with all listen. Our history is not what we've been taught. I don't believe whatsoever. So
I don't think so either. I believe that some time ago. And even today, the history books of today are not the history books that you and I read when we were going to school. But
that's why it's. Oh, go.
and with
Sorry.
that being said, though, that leads me to believe that the history books that from our parents changed, and that's why I don't believe it's accurate. I do believe, I don't think that's an odd statement at all. I think in our history books there's nothing as to what history really was prior to our existence.
Yeah, my question is like, what was here a lot like before? Because we're getting all this information now about like ancient Egyptian settlements in the Grand Canyon, in Illinois, Ohio, ancient artifacts found and stuff. I mean, some people say that Egypt was actually in North America, the original Egypt. So it's food for thought, like Barry says, like we said. Okay, but some of these lakes around the South are covering up. I mean, we have newspaper articles that actually a friend of mine showed me one day, and she it was articles out of Tennessee
Mhm.
where there was actually an ancient Egyptian settlement there that was covered up by a man-made lake, Lake Norris. Okay, I used to go swimming in Lake Norris, and
Okay.
I think it's near Knoxville. I'm pretty sure, but anyways, it's Lake Norris. There was it was like the city government or the county government, along with the local schools there. Their board members decided that it was a good idea to cover up that old settlement there, ancient Egyptian like ruins, basically, with that man-made lake. Like, why would they do that? You know what I mean? Why? Unless they were trying to cover it up.
It always reverts back to some sort of cover up or conspiracy, doesn't it? I mean,
Everything's a cover up.
it's always a cover up. And that's the thing that, that's a lot of people get detracted from that, or it turns people off. But in some of these cover ups or conspiracies, I think we could agree are just really phony baloney. But some of them, they are put out there because they want us to look into these things when on the flip side, they want us to believe in some of these conspiracy theories to hide what's actually going on, right? So if I'm concentrated on a conspiracy, then this agenda from what I call, and I'm a believer that in the New World Order, I believe that this government's now run by the cabinet or the president.
Oh
My
yeah.
beliefs. It's run by these oligarchies, I guess you call it oligarchies, I guess it is. These people have so much money, Jessica, in the world that they are pulling the purse strings.
Right.
And again, that's a whole another. I mean, we just talked about 5 different things where we can have 5 shows on.
Oh no,
Literally.
I got another one too. Let's throw this in there. What about would that constitute a cursed lake at this point? I mean, what kind of curses are on those lakes now that they've been? I mean, they're these man-made lakes. Like I said, especially down here in the South, we have a bunch of them, and Lake Lanier is one of them here in Georgia, and it is a cursed lake. And they've flooded out whole communities to put those lakes there. So are they covering something up? I mean, so many people die in that lake every year. So many go missing. Some of the bodies are never found. So
And there's even a Lake Superior, especially well, Lake Superior is a very haunted and mysterious lake, but and that's obviously it's in the Great Lakes. But there's also in the at the northern top of Lake Superior, bordering Lake Canada, there are ancient stories of people going missing every day, the First Nations people, and some discuss that there's being taken by an alien base in Lake Superior. This has popped up on radar. And again, and there's another one at the southern end. And of course, you got the Michigan Triangle, where that came from. All this weird technology and UFO activity. There was 360 UFOs back in 1994 that popped up on radar over Lake Michigan. I did a story on that. Just east of Chicago.
wow,
So, I mean, there's so much with this.
there is. And then if you factor in, I mean, I don't know if that part, around that lake is any federal land, or
Yep.
but a lot of times at the national parks and federal lands, basically, if they have a big lake there, sometimes UFOs are seen coming in and out of those lakes. So it's
I
like, what's going on in that lake there with those underground bases
I
everywhere?
believe it. I believe it. There's over Lake Michigan. Let me do this really quick. I'm not taking a break. A 52-minute mark, though. I got to put a cut in for the podcast. So it's supposed to be a 10-second delay for you, Randy. So everybody go run over, subscribe to Jessica Jones, if not already. The link for her show and her website is in this show description. If you're new here, subscribe to Bigfoot Mystery Rob on YouTube, Texas Front Porch, the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast. And I do want to thank, before I get too far into it, to Kelly Sandiford for the super sticker and for becoming a BMR pirate. Thanks, Kelly. Love you. Appreciate it. And thanks for everybody for coming on. Again, if you're new, please subscribe to our channels. Give a thumbs up, hit the like, and do what you do on a daily basis, just like Jessica does on a daily basis. With, I believe you have 2 shows during the week as well. So you know what? I wanted to get into something. I could talk with you for hours, and I know you're going to have to go in a little while to pick up your son, and I get that. I appreciate that. When Jessica goes, I've got a cool story for everybody, so stay tuned. But you did a show, again, Dennis Carroll, you did this. I believe it was him. One of the more, I love all your shows. They're all fascinating. But you talked about Spearfinger,
Oh,
and
yeah.
right? And
Oh,
that
yeah.
was like
Favorite.
I kind of ended that last segment talking about the ancient people or the Indians, ancient First Nations peoples, about the Appalachian Mountains, um, where these are actually like evil spirits that capture children, and their source for life is like their liver, if I recall correctly.
Ooh, yeah. This is Spearfinger loves liver. That's her favorite. And okay, so Spearfinger is a Cherokee legend. She is a shape-shifting witch of Cherokee lore. However, I tend to think that she might be real in some aspects. Okay,
Okay.
and by real, not necessarily a 3D human being walking around the woods or looking like a ground, but it could be. I don't know. I think that we've had some potential encounters with her or the spirit of Spearfinger. Something was going on out there where I was picking up, and maybe you know what? Maybe my mind was running a little wild. I don't know, because it's a little scary out in those woods at night when you're
Mhm.
out there stalking Bigfoots. Okay, but yeah, we some people on my team, we think that we potentially could have had some contact with Spearfinger out there. Now, Spearfinger is what looks like an old woman. Okay, usually she's an old lady uh, hobbling through the woods, and she has a long finger. Okay, on her index finger, she looks like just a normal old lady, except for this long spear on her finger. Okay, and what she does is she lures children, and I guess she like lures them into the woods. I don't know. She just goes and approaches kids. Sometimes she can shapeshift into the loved ones of the children. Okay, whoever her victims are going to be, because she loves children's livers more than anything. I think she'll
Yeah.
take any liver she can get, but she likes kids' livers, which is really scary. But she lures the kids in, and she strokes their hair, and until they fall asleep usually. And when they fall asleep, she sticks her spear into their back and takes their liver out and eats it. So yeah, she's scary. Sometimes she will morph into her real form, which is more kind of demonic looking. Really scary. Really scary business. But there's a story that by the Cherokee that says that she was a menace to the community out there. And there were several tribes that banded together at some point because they went after her. They were going to try to unalive her. Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
Unalive her, as we say on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so they banded together. They knew that she liked the fall. Okay. Fall time. Because there were, I think it's chestnuts, some kind of nuts that fell on the ground. And she knew that the people who lived out there in this community, they'd be going out into the woods to go hunt for their chestnuts. What they did was a controlled burn, and they burned the ground every year, the leaves and the brush away so they could find their nuts on the ground. Okay, so they could eat them.
Yes, indeed. The old nuts on the ground.
Nuts on the ground. So what they did, they decided, well, hey, this year we know that she's getting ready to feed. Okay, so Spearfinger's getting ready to feed. Let's trick her. I think they built like a pit or something for her to fall in, from what I can recall. But they dug they dug a moat around the area and covered it in leaves. But so they decided that they would do the annual controlled burn. They would kind of lure her in, thinking that they were just out there picking up their chestnuts off the ground. And when they got her over there, when we showed herself, they would have some warriors there ready to shoot her with their arrows. Okay, so guess what? So they went with the plan, they plotted it out, and then they executed it. And they set the fire, and lo and behold, they thought they were going to be seeing, I don't know if they thought they were going to see an old woman or what, but a little old lady hobbled up into the forest, and they pulled their arrows back and they started shooting at her. Okay, and as they shot at her, nothing was hitting her. The arrows were bouncing off. And so that's why she has the nickname of the Stonecoat Witch. Okay, the Stonecoat Witch. Just like the Stonecoat Giants, if you ever heard the Stonecoat Giants. But a little chickadee or a tufted titmouse came and landed. I think it landed on her shoulder first. And it was like, shoot here. So they started shooting towards her heart. It was kind of showing the warriors, shoot here. They shot there, but the arrows were like bouncing off still. So another bird came down, and I think it landed on her hand. I'm pretty sure it landed on her finger or on her hand. And they noticed that in her hand was a heart. Her heart was beating in her hand outside of her body. And so they shot at the heart, and that's what killed her. Or unalived her, excuse me. So yeah, but that's the story of Spearfinger, but I don't think she's completely unalived, personally. But people are scared to go in the woods at night because of her.
I would be too. I would be. I mean that, and I think she is still. I don't think she's unalived either. Right?
She's there. Her spirit's still there, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I've been in the woods at night. Okay, I've heard tapping before. I mean, we're out in the middle of nowhere. We have no lights on, no headlamps, no flashlights, no nothing. We're just trotting through the woods, and we sit there for a minute, tracking Bigfoot. Okay, and suddenly I remember hearing this, and I kept thinking in my head, I was like, oh my God, that's got to be Spearfinger. Because this is an area where we thought, some of the team had potentially encountered Spearfinger before in the past. And all I could hear was a tap, 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 tap. And there was just a tapping, like a loud tapping noise that was coming it sounded like a tree was getting tapped or something. But in my mind, I was seeing Spearfinger like, tapping the tree with their little spear. And I was like, dang, man, are y'all ready to go yet? Like this has been a long night. Looks like I'm ready to go turn in for the night. It was weird.
Now, when I hear tapping out in the woods, I'm going to be thinking Spearfinger. So thank you for that one. But I got to tell you that, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I think that that's still going on. Kind of reminds me a little bit of something. Remember the Bell Witch?
Oh yes, I'm planning to go up there soon. I'm planning a trip to go to the Bell Witch Cave. Yeah.
I think that's still phenomenon still going on, don't you?
Yes, the
Yep.
curse of the Bell Witch. I think it is too. I mean, you can't go to the Bell Witch Cave or the Bell Cave and leave there with anything, any piece of gravel stuck in your shoe or pick up a rock. And I love bringing home rocks. I am a quartz girl. If I find a beautiful piece of quartz, it's in my pocket and I take it home. Okay. I love my quartz, and I take it from all the places that we research. I usually get a really pretty piece of quartz somewhere because there's so much quartz everywhere. But my goodness, if you get a piece of gravel from that spot, that location there, and you take it home, your whole life will unravel.
Mm.
It's cursed. So you don't want to do that.
Is that if you wittingly take it home, or what if you accidentally took it home? Like if the dirt is caught underneath your shoes or what have you,
I
and you
told my
and you traipse it through your house?
I mean, I would assume even if you accidentally bring some home. I told my son he's gonna have to wear rubber boots that day. We go. Yeah, we're gonna put trash bags around our shoes that day with rubber bands. We are not leaving there with anything. I'm like,
Yeah.
let me check your pocket. I'm gonna do a pocket check on my kid. We're gonna make sure he has no rocks in his pockets when we get in the car. Okay. Yeah. It's serious. It's serious business. I mean, and I don't know if it's like you got to buy into it for it to work or if it just works, and I say like works and then like it's bad because you're cursed. Like you get cursed if you're just unwittingly hearing it, like you said.
You know,
I don't know.
and that's why I tussle with that. Unwittingly coming on things because I think anybody can walk into a situation. For example, we talked a little bit earlier, maybe about the paranormal and ghosts. I mean, where how ghosts or paranormal entities can attach themselves to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you're more susceptible to the attachment in either case with the Bell Witch or in the paranormal, if you're actively intending to find these things, or if, I mean, if you're walking through a cemetery late at night, and I don't know why you would, unless you're a researcher, right? I
Right.
think that you can expect to bring something home,
Well, the fact that
regardless of your intention.
the fact that you're there shows intention. Okay. The fact that you're there because you're there to explore that's why I always encourage everyone to put up a lot of energetic protection around your body and around your aura before you go anywhere. I always like to use the case of going to Walmart. Okay.
Oh,
Put some protection around you spiritually, energetically.
I introduced my mom to Walmart for the first time, like during Christmas.
What?
Yes, my mom never been to
Christmas
Walmart.
of this year, past year?
Yes,
Your
this
mom had
past.
never been to Walmart?
Nope. I always told her to stay out of Walmart.
What?
Yes, I did. And
What did she
because
think about it?
it's so big, it's so much in I can do everything here. But she loved, what she loved most about the Walmart, Jessica?
No. What?
The one she loved the most is there was a Burger King inside of it.
Oh my God. We have Subways inside ours.
Uh,
Yeah.
my
Burger
mom's favorite
King.
fast food is Burger King. And which reminds me, I was
So
talking to you like a year ago. I have a good memory. Didn't you eat like a Burger King burger and you swore against them now because you like it knocked you out for like several hours?
I swear they put sedatives in their burgers. I swear. I mean, I was the last time I swore I'd never eat a Whopper ever again. The last time I had one
Yeah.
because I fell asleep and I was mad. I thought I'd been drugged. I was like, what happened here? Yeah. Hey, what does Bruce Lee order at Burger King? Uh, a Whopper.
I thought it might have been at Burger King, a Whopper. Yeah.
You know,
I was
I had
thinking
to do it.
I
I
was
had to
thinking
do it.
I
I had to
like it.
do it.
I was thinking chop suey, but they don't make chop suey at
No, a
Burger.
Whopper. You got to tell your mom that one. You got to tell
I'll
your mom
tell her.
that.
I'll
She
have
don't like that one.
she'll like that. I like that movie, Bruce Lee as Bruce Lee. Another, Anyway, we're kind of off the topic a little bit, but yeah, but it's always fun on this show, right? Talk
Yeah.
about whatever pops up, and
Well,
we
it's
have a
about
little,
like protection. It's all about that
yeah.
spiritual protection, the energetic protection. So yeah,
But
that Whopper will take your protection shield down. Be careful.
oh, it will. It'll make you. You know what? You have a Whopper. you have a shake, you go meditate, and you'll be transported out of you'll have an out of body experience for sure.
Yeah, you go to sleep.
Yeah. And when we go to sleep, who
I'm
knows
hungry.
where we wander, you know?
I know, right?
But and I guess really the reason I bring this up a lot is just for people, and I guess I do it for myself too because I'm one of those leery people. I was never leery up until I discovered all these things and really had my encounter experience, to be honest with you. And then talking with friends that I have now, the paranormal and everybody across the board, because they're really though I'm really today I pay more attention to my surroundings today than I ever did before. Not because I'm scared. It's not because I never was not attentive in the first place, but with what's going on and what I've learned over the last several years is you never know if you're in a safe place, whether it be a Walmart or Burger King, right? You just don't know. I mean, I'm afraid to shake a stranger's hand. It's not because of infection or the COVID. It's because what if they're like, they cast something on me? I believe in that today.
Ew.
No, I do.
Energy transfer. Yeah, energy
Yeah.
transfer. That's real. And so, yeah, you got to be careful who you let touch you. Yeah, for sure. I mean, have you ever met somebody and you're like, oh, I just don't want to, I don't want to shake their hand. And
Yeah.
I know, I hate admitting that, but I mean, it
Well,
hasn't been for a long time, but it's just the energy. You can feel the energy off some
Yeah.
people, you
Well, I
know.
gotta tell you this. I might have told you this a long time ago, and I see a lot of newer people. I know some of your fans are following you. Thanks everybody for coming on in.
Hey,
If this
everybody.
is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob on YouTube. Thank you for coming in. And again, the super chats and the membership. But I've said this story before. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but talking about transfer of energy, or I can easily, when I meet somebody, I know what their intentions are, and I can tell you
Mhm.
within 2 minutes if they're good or bad. I really can. And in fact, when I owned the bar for 13 years, I didn't even read their application. I interviewed them and the energy they perceive. And I didn't even know I was into the energy thing. This is long before I met you or all these other people. I just knew if they would be a good employee, if they would steal from me. But anyway, long story short, this kid, 5 years old, when I first met him, lived on my block, 5 years old. And I was playing with this kid, and I just sensed, believe it or not, me as a 5 year old sensed he was evil. Now, what type of kid senses evil? I told my mom and dad that Jimmy up the street was evil. They're like, where are you getting this evil from? He's a kid. Just like go play with the kid. Never liked this kid. And we were in the same school district. So he was in all my grades, middle school, junior high, high school. And every time I came across this kid, I got the sense he's bad news. The only one, but he was the one that I pointed, there's something wrong with this guy. And I went to the extent of telling all my friends to stay away from Jimmy because I got this bad vibe on this guy. And I don't know where these thoughts are coming from, where this energy is coming from. I just know he's bad. High school. So high school, senior year, I'm in gym class. We're playing soccer, and it was skins versus shirts. So, the obviously with guys, it was summertime. We were towards spring, and that's how we divided up teams. So he and I got in a scuffle, rolling around on the ground, and where our bodies are connecting, touching. The kid that I think is evil throughout my entire life, right? And I all of a sudden rolling around on the ground, I got overpowered with the sense of evil. I can't explain it. Something clicked in my mind, said, get away from this kid. I just literally, Jessica, I was scared. I got up and ran from this kid, and I looked like a wimp on the soccer field running from this guy. Rob, what's wrong with you? It's not like you. I was just beside myself. And the gym coach said, Rob, go sit down, man. Have a drink of water, whatever. You're exhausted, whatever it was. I told my mom and dad that, I was in high school about that. And he said, man, you never liked that kid, did you? I said, no, never did. So here's the kicker. I go off to college. When I get back, graduate, come home, my mom and dad have a party for me or whatever, graduation from college party. Do you hear about your buddy Jimmy? I go, no, I didn't hear about Jimmy. Jimmy murdered his grandmother. He's in prison. This is the same kid throughout all my life I knew was evil. and he did in his grandmother when I was off at college.
Oh my gosh.
What about the transfer of energy? Talking about,
Yeah.
our intuition. My intuition is over exaggerated in my beliefs,
Wow.
in my mind, and
Wow.
yeah.
You called it. Oh my gosh. That poor
Call it,
guy. Feel bad for him, but man, he can't. That's terrible what he did. But my goodness. I
yeah.
mean, from a young age too. He and you. It's like he carried
Yeah.
something inside of him
Yeah.
that you picked up on.
Yeah.
It's sad, really.
It's a sad story. It's not my favorite story to tell, but I do tell it, especially for newcomers that have not heard that, because and it was really resonated on what we were just talking about these transfers of energy, our intuition, and to be aware of your surroundings. So I've always been an aware person. I really have.
Yeah, me too. We have to be aware now, and that's why I'm always don't say preaching, but I'm always encouraging everybody to really tune in psychically to yourself and start paying attention to everything energetically that's going on around you, and how people make you feel. That's so important. That's something that you need to have situational awareness, especially like you said today. We live in a really crazy time, really crazy world. A lot of I mean, just evil out there too, kind of, and just uncertainty. I think, and you just don't know people's intentions. So if you can kind of open up your third eye, pay attention to energy shifts around you, pay attention to how people make you feel, pay attention to how your dog acts around people. Okay, like dogs
Oh
are
yeah.
a good, they're a good what do you call it, like a meter or whatever. Like they're able to tell you if somebody's good or bad usually, but not always. I mean, I listen. I think I'm a good person. I've had dogs bark at me. You know what I mean? So it's not always.
Well, we've all had dogs bark at us. And I talked about this some other time ago. And again, my buddy, my best friend, his dog will bark at me when I first get there. But then he knows me and he'll, wag, he'll do all the
Right.
kissing and loving. But if people go over his house, he will growl at them if he thinks they're evil. And you know what the funny thing is? I can sense that too. I've always been able
Yeah.
to do that. And we're coming up on. I know you have to pick up your son,
I
and you got a
do.
couple minutes. And
I do.
for any of the new people out here watching this show today, where can they find you, Jessica?
Well, I thank you for having me, Rob. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh,
Uh,
it's
I,
always fun when we get together.
it is. It is. Well, we have so much to talk about all the time. But people can find me. I have a YouTube channel that's the Cryptid Huntress over on YouTube. Also, I have a website with all of my social media links there, and all of my shows are posted there. The calendar of events where places I'm going to be and things, whatever I'm doing, it's on my website, thecryptidhuntress.com. And you guys can come see me if you live in Georgia or North Carolina, South Carolina. What you live anywhere, you can come out there. But I'm going to be at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference in 2 weeks with Ron Moorhead and Brooks Agnew and Matthew Delph, one of my good friends, who's a research buddy of mine. We're going to be speaking up there in Dillard, Georgia. So other than that, I'm at Spaced Out Radio every Sunday
Yes,
night
you are.
as
Yes,
well.
you are.
So I'm on SOR. So y'all can find me there every Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern.
And also, Jessica, for everyone listening, in this video, in the description, I got both your links for your channel and your .com, jessicajones.com or whatever it is. But it's
Thank
it's
you.
in this. It's in this. And
Thank you.
it was a great show having you on. Glad it's been about a half a year, so I'm glad to have you back. And
It's been a while.
it was fantastic. And we'll do this again, sometime in the future.
Let's do it. Okay.
Don't anybody go anywhere, because I've got a story for you guys that I'll be putting out this weekend. So I'm going to give you a preview of that. But everybody, thank you to Jessica. Love you. And I'll see you next time.
All right. Bye, y'all. Y'all have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Oh,
Yep.
and I got a show tonight. Y'all come see me over on my channel at 8 p.m.
That's right.
Eastern. Okay.
Very good.
Bye,
Yep.
y'all. Okay.
Always love when I have Jessica on. I've known her for quite some time, for a few years back, even before she was the Cryptid Huntress. So that was a great show. Thanks, Jessica, for coming on in, and thank you to all of you for coming on in today. This show, I'm gonna end the show with a story that I'll be putting out this weekend. You know how I was talking about? We were talking about the elementals of the forest and how I believe that the forest is a true lifeline, just like the internet. We have the root system of the trees all connected. We've got
all these things going on, right? And I got an email from a guy that I'm going to put this weekend. Again, it's going to debut because I always do encounter stories from my subscribers or emails that I get. And I'm going to give you a preview of that when it'll be coming out Saturday or Sunday. And this reflects right back on the life and the vitality that we have in the forest. This man was out in his in the forest by him, and he lives in Pennsylvania, forest of Pennsylvania, and the man's been hunting there for many, many years, over 20 years in the field, hunting and camping with his family. And as he's traversing through the forest, he all of a sudden is unaware of his whereabouts. He does not know where he's at. He found it to be very peculiar. He found it to be very odd. Again, everybody, 20 years in this forest in Pennsylvania, knows it like the back of his hand, yet all of a sudden, he has no idea where he's at. He's lost. He didn't fall asleep, nothing like that. He just starts thinking, did he walk through a portal? This is what I'm suggesting as he tells me this story. About an hour goes by, he's starting to get very scared. I think he says a prayer, as he mentions in this email, and he's just asking for guidance and for help. So as he's traversing about this unknown land, which he should know from all of his years, he stops and he sees this tree. Now, this tree that he stops at, all of a sudden it metamorphoses like a face, he says. It's kind of like a face kind of metamorphosis or came through the structure of the tree, through the bark, and it looked like just like a face. So he follows the tree down, and though he looks and he starts walking down this trail, lost everybody. And then 15, 20 feet up, he finds another face that materializes from the tree. Okay. He's scared and knows he's in a weird land, but he can't put his finger on this. Yet these faces now, everybody, start materializing down this path, and he decides that maybe something is showing him the way out. So he follows these faces and he follows them. They keep popping up. He's still unfamiliar with his surroundings. Then maybe a half hour into it or so, the land ahead, the woods, the trail starts to look more familiar. And then when it comes to the end of his email, and again, I'll be more descriptive when I put this out Saturday. And then all of a sudden, the faces stop and he realizes he's back at his campsite and he now has his wits about him. He's familiar with the land once again, the forest once again. So my question to you guys out there is this: what was this? We talked about the elementals of the forest earlier. Kind of a cool story in the fact that this energy guided this man out of the forest, a forest he was familiar with for 20 years. Okay. All of a sudden, didn't know where he was at, was lost, was scared. And then these images of faces start coming out in these trees, and he gets the wherewithal to follow these faces. Despite being creepy and probably being a little scared, he followed these and they showed him the way. That's a cool story. I'll be more detailed with it when I put it out here the weekend, like I do every weekend. I put out a counter tale. I want to thank everybody for coming on in today. And one thing that I forgot to do earlier, Jessica was talking about conferences. Don't forget, June 7th and 8th, we do have the Alabama Bigfoot Conference. June 7th and 8th. Tex is the master of ceremonies. Our speakers are Bart Nunnally, Daryl Denton, the Blondes and the Booze, Jason McLean, Greg Ogles, Martin Groves, BMR. Tickets are $30 online, $35 at the door at the Anniston Performing Arts Center. Thank you for that. Thanks for everybody who bought my book. Leave a review for those of you that bought it. You can find the book pinned at the top of this chat and on my channel. I also want to thank the lovely Let me pull it up right quick. I'm sorry. Kelly Sandford for her super sticker. If you're becoming a new member, she's now a BMR pirate. Thank you for that. I want to thank each and every single one of you for coming on in today. I really had a great show. I love the show today with Jessica. If you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast, and of course, Jessica Jones and Texas Front Porch. Tonight, the Blondes and the Booze are on. Got a great show. 9 in the East. They've got the man, the guy, I forgot his name. He's from Skinwalker Ranch. He is the main figurehead. It's not Brandon Fugel, but it's God. The name slipped me. But Skinwalker Ranch, the man. If anybody can come up with his name, he'll be on tonight. Be a fantastic show at the Blondes. Again, I forgot his name. He's the guy that wears the cowboy hat, and I think he runs the whole show over there. So it'll be Skinwalker Ranch tonight at 9:00. That'll be a great show. This was a great show. You're all wonderful. Thanks for coming on in. I appreciate love each and every single one of you. If I didn't say hi to you, it doesn't mean I don't love you. I just didn't see you. I had to do all the controls today. With that being said, for Jessica Jones, for BMR, until next time, have a great Thursday.